Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Speed Street podcast. We appreciate you folks for being here. My name is Connor Daly, driver the number 76 AM PM Chevrolet for Juncos Hollinger Racing. We are back to a race week this week. We are racing in Portland once again. This was my first road course for this team last year. So excited to get back to work here with this team because I feel like actually we made some good progress during the weekend last weekend. So I'm hoping this is probably our best road course of the year. We're going to go with that. There was not a race over the weekend, but I got to watch. I was a race fan. I got to watch a lot of racing, which I love watching racing. I watch NASCAR. I watch Formula One. Watch the Xfinity Series. I was watching racing, so I enjoyed being able to do that. Because I'm a race fan that appreciates that I get to watch all kinds of racing. So that was great. But we do have a race to preview. We have no guests this week, honestly, because I think Chase and I just want to talk about all the stuff that's gone on in our sport. We had a big piece of news drop last week, and we're gonna get to that. Obviously, very very large for the IndyCar series. And just talk about what Portland looks like, what we've got going on, maybe some ratings talk from Laguna Seca, because when we recorded last week, we didn't get to see the ratings for the race, and yeah, there's a lot to talk about. So this has just been a good discussion episode. Hopefully you guys enjoy it. Hopefully you have some comments to add in the comments to whatever comment section you want to add, because people love adding comments. If you feel like adding something to the conversation, please do. But Chase, how are we doing? We got a race coming up once again. It felt good to have a weekend off, though. I'm not gonna lie. It was insanely busy, and just nice to have a weekend off.
Yeah, I can imagine it's nice to have that weekend off when you're not in a car and when you're not racing. You feel a little whole. You do feel a little whole as a fan and as somebody that loves just being at the track. To watch the race. So like you, I turned my attention. I did my best to watch the F1 race that morning. I thought Charles Leclerc was going to win. That didn't happen. Boy.
Yep.
And then the NASCAR race obviously stirred a lot of controversy as well. So it was definitely an eventful weekend for racing. And then if you're like me and you have an emulator on your phone, you like to play Super Nintendo, Mario Andretti Racing, or on Sega. So I did that to get my fix in. But yeah, the big news, man, I think we're both very excited to talk about this Fox deal. Everything that happened. I know a lot of people they didn't really know how to take it at first. And I'm definitely ready to kind of get your thoughts and dive in to that part of the big news, because I think that's going to carry a lot of weight, especially going into the off season, which we are sadly approaching for fans. Maybe you're a little more, ready to get a little, you still got a lot of work to do in the off season though. Tons. So is there an off season?
Yeah, I mean, sadly for me, who's always one step away from unemployment, it feels like we gotta keep working on it. But I'm hoping our off season ends quick. I would like to be in the same spot as I am next year. That would be really really nice. But we're trying to tie our partnerships together. So we gotta continue to bring the funding to the table, because that's what makes the world go round. And we'd like to win all three of these last few races. I think winning all three of the last few races, or just winning one of them, is going to help, and that's obviously our goal. I think we got two very massive targets on Milwaukee and Nashville, so very very excited for those. But real quick, the NASCAR race at Iowa. Honestly, we saw how few people attended our race because no one knew it was happening. I mean, honestly, that's just no one knew that we were racing at Iowa. Sadly. And, there's a lot of local promotion for the NASCAR race. NASCAR is a bigger sport than us, so that makes sense. But it was packed, and you saw the crowd. It was a great crowd for a race. And, what's funny is, like, the way that that car races for those guys, it's kind of similar to our car. Like, they have to find clean air. Like, it's tough to navigate around traffic. And to be fair to those guys, I actually enjoyed the race. I enjoyed watching the race because I thought it was fascinating, especially on the first stint, how William Byron was using like some of the traffic to disrupt the air for Brad. And I thought it was kind of like just a slower IndyCar race at times, but it's still there was side by side racing. But I think the NASCAR fan base and everyone's so used to like a ton of side by side and beating and banging and stuff like that. And there was a lot of that. There definitely was a lot of that too. But
maybe a little too much towards the end.
Yeah, maybe a little too much. A lot of cautions. Goodness gracious. Now that is that was definitely
12.
That was annoying. But I didn't hate. I didn't hate it, and I enjoyed seeing the strategy play out. I wished, I was thinking Ryan Blaney was going to have it at the end because he had pressure tires. But again, I can see where some fans would be disappointed because of the fact that it was so difficult to pass, and you had clean air was king. But even with a bit of clean air on the high side or the low side, it was hard to make a move. So very, very interesting, and obviously a bit of a fuel save there at the end. But I enjoyed being a race fan. Like I watched the race at the Hungaroring, one of my favorite tracks when I was racing over in Europe. Lando Norris, big strategy guy, the tire king. That actually made it somewhat interesting. Like there's not a ton of overtaking there, but it was actually somewhat of an interesting race because Lando made it happen, made the tires last. So that's our diverse racing talk segment because we got around, we got to each series. I thought there was enjoyable races to watch. I basically spent Sunday being a race fan, which I enjoy.
Yeah, you don't get to do that often because you're in the car. And I mean, I made a lot of I do some comments and stuff like that on social media and things. But the one thing I think I realized mainly before we move on is with NASCAR, like there really is, like we've talked about it before in the past, and like there really is just this gap where like NASCAR fans, like people have said it, like NASCAR fans are kind of NASCAR fans. And it's when you're kind of like you and I, and you like multiple disciplines of racing, different types and different strategies, things that you watch going down, like it really opens up your worldview. And so talking to a lot of my buddies that were NASCAR fans over this weekend about kind of like what was wrong. Cause like you said, I could really enjoy it in the beginning. Like, the car is the car. That's what they have. And you're watching, Brad and William kind of going at it. There's a little bit of offense, defense. It's like, that's kind of what that car created. Now it kind of did sour towards the end, like I said. And like I said, I had more comments on it on my social media. I won't go too deep into it here, but it really just opened my eyes to, I'm just going to continue this journey of helping more NASCAR fans be like, look here, look there, look at what we have, like look at all these different types and just kind of finding a way to appreciate them for what they are. And yes, I'm glad that I was able to cross that bridge a few years ago. So that's cool.
I'll go out on a maybe limb and say this. I thought an IndyCar raced better side by side at Iowa than a NASCAR Cup car. I honestly,
we were watching it and you were driving, so
I thought for a while there, some of our side by side racing was better, but there were a couple moments where I could literally see those guys using some of the stuff that we would learn on the high side or the low side, trying to make those lines work. So for me, it's a much slower race than our race, of course, but the aero characteristics of that car have changed so much over the years. Obviously the next gen car, people are, all kinds of people are up in arms about it. But it was fascinating to see. I'm like, oh my gosh, those guys are trying to find the same stuff like we're trying to find. But I think since we have more downforce and obviously, some of our short oval racing can get in a long line at some times. But we as drivers, I think, have been changing that this year with some of our high lane usage and trusting the grip of the tire in the car. So anyway, for me as a driver, this is how I look at racing. I enjoy finding similarities. I enjoy finding some things that I'm like, oh, I know that driver is busting his butt to try to make that high line work, or to try to find, at the exit of two. Sometimes, depending on the wind, you can let that thing run up the track a little bit more if you get a headwind into two, because you're going to get some grip, and it might not look like you're going to make the corner. But because you got a headwind coming down the back straight, you can make the front stick out of two. So just things like that I enjoy watching. And And again, I thought it was a good race minus all the crashing and the cautions. I didn't enjoy that. I thought that was kind of wild, but yeah, that's our other motor racing talk. I think we did a great job covering some other motor racing. Yeah. And speaking of watching motor racing, let's talk real quick about ratings for Laguna Seca before we get into the Fox stuff. The Laguna Seca ratings, I thought, honestly, somewhat impressive to me. I would say that still the 700, like we kind of got that base number of like 714,000, 730,000, 700, just over 700,000. And I always remember that we talked about this previously in one show back in the day, like in the NBC days or something. You'd always have some of like our low end races were like 350,000. We couldn't break 350,000. Like you'd have 350,000 people watching a race and be like, oh my gosh, that's so low, which it is. But if our base number now is like 700 to 750,000, like that's a good increase in just base fans.
For sure.
And obviously the Fox numbers overall, like if you do look at them now, again, there's so many people who want to say, well, like, I mean, there's a million different comparisons to make. And sadly there's so much discourse, across the web at times, which we obviously see, but the year has seen a 31% viewer increase, like in viewership. So that is good. Like the season overall, let's hammer that. And Laguna obviously, was going up against some things, which every race is going to go up against something. It doesn't even matter if it's the American Cornhole tournaments or whatever it is, or Little League Baseball. It doesn't matter. Like you're going up against something. So shout out to all the folks that watched Laguna Seca. I thought that was kudos to you folks. Now again, weekend off, and maybe now some kids are starting school. Maybe for the Portland race, I don't know. Usually I started school around this time. Usually it was like August 16th or so. Maybe some people are starting a little earlier. So maybe everyone's at home on a Sunday. We're locking in, we're getting our books ready, and we're like, hey, let's turn on the IndyCar race. I don't know. Let's hope for it.
Packing our back sacks. Did you call it a back sack or a backpack?
Backpack. I didn't know that people called it back sacks.
It must be a Louisiana thing, I guess. Yeah.
What is your son
rolling
called?
Back sacks? He just calls it a bag. I try to raise him. You don't need an extra word. Just put it in the bag. We like bags.
There you go.
So
you got to get the bag. That's what the
gotta
whole.
Get the bag, dude.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of, this is a random story of the week. Last night I dreamt I was friends with Michael Jordan, and I don't know why. Last night I dreamt I was friends with Michael Jordan, and we were talking about NASCAR, and I literally, I never remember dreams. So this is the most random thing ever. But yeah. I was having a detailed conversation with Michael Jordan as to what he finds the benefit to owning his NASCAR team is, and then when would he like to own an IndyCar team? And I don't remember his answers, honestly, but I do remember that we went to this very cool restaurant, and it was very exclusive, and I thought it was, for some reason last night I dreamt that I was friends with Michael Jordan, and it's probably never going to happen.
Dude, it could be a sign of the future, man. You could go full Leonardo DiCaprio Inception on it. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's get. I think about Michael Jordan coming to IndyCar all the time. I mean, they're going through their stuff with NASCAR right now. I mean, door could be open.
Yeah, maybe there's a
Where's
charter.
Tom Brady?
Michael Jordan. If all of a sudden in the next couple of weeks Michael Jordan owns part of a charter, call me a wizard, because I literally saw it in my brain. This is it was the craziest thing ever. But anyway, I just thought this is a motorsport podcast. Obviously, Michael Jordan is an incredible athlete, an incredible sports human being, but also a motorsport guy. So
it's a Dreamcast.
Yeah. Anyway, that was one of the weirdest things. I woke up and
I
was
love
like,
it.
What a meeting that
I
was.
love dreams.
That was incredible.
Yeah.
So let's get to the big news of last week. And I know that for me this was a surprise. Everyone might think, a lot of people might think that like I've got some sort of inside source, because obviously Doug Bowles is a member of my family. Also, I just fixed my collar. I just noticed that was off. So if you're watching on YouTube, I look like a clown. Oh, great use of clown word usage there. But I fixed it. So with Doug obviously being a part of my family, obviously my stepdad, as I've tried to mention, and again, the people in the random comment section will never listen to this because obviously I don't listen to my podcast, but Doug is so, I would say, smart with the way he communicates to me, obviously, because I'm part of the organization. So I'm not getting any information. I'm not getting anything new or before the scenes because politically that's incorrect. Like, that's not how you do things. Like, you're not, like, there's not that from a business standpoint. That's not how you do things. You do things professionally. Doug does things professionally, and he's at the top of the IndyCar ladder system. So I'm not out here like trying to. That's just not how it works. Like, and again, people might think, oh no, that's like, but the thing is there are people capable of running a professional like organization and a business, and also having family nearby where they can still do it correctly. So that's what Doug does. So I got a call. I think he called most people like 10 or 15 minutes before the announcement of the Fox purchase of a third of IndyCar. And I was like, oh, okay. He's like, yeah, you're going to see it in about 5 or 10 minutes. I was like, oh, all right. And I was at the gym, so I didn't know, I couldn't like talk to him for a while and like ask more questions about it. But then obviously I see like my group chats and the phone going off that FOX Corp had bought 1/3 of Penske Entertainment. And it was, there's lots of numbers being thrown around, like 140 million or whatever it was. I don't know if you saw that, Chase, but
yeah.
I mean, so from a business standpoint, and I think this is something that is huge for our sport. I think it created waves across like business Twitter. Like they're looking at all these, sports business accounts and folks that, tweet about large sporting, deals and stuff like that. I think it's great for us for many reasons. You have Liberty Media who bought into Formula One, and they made their money back, 10 times over, an absurd amount over. And they're a media like company, right? So, when Fox first got to our sport, and I still believe this, obviously we've talked about IndyCar being one of the most undervalued, underutilized asset in the sporting realm that there is. And I believe that they recognize what we have, obviously as a sporting property. Obviously the Indy 500, sellout this year. Now that's our king piece on the chessboard, right? Like that's the alpha dog. We know that. But it does make money. like the Indy 500 is a successful event, and it's obviously very, very highly watched and attended. So that's great. But the fact that they see all of our other races and what's going on there, and the spirit of our sport, the competition, the drivers, the teams. I mean, I guess I didn't really think about something like this happening, but it really does make sense. It's like, oh my gosh, a big corporation that wants to make money and that is also involved already with us. They see the benefit in what some of these other groups buying into sporting organizations have received. It feels like the right time to buy. And I mean, I thought it was something that just shook our sports landscape, but I think is so good for us. Now, again, you still have to do the work, like with them being involved, with them owning part of it. I'm very curious to see what is done. Okay, we just saw the Fox One streaming service announced. So now there's a streaming service. It looks like that's going to be available. So that's right out the gate. What's going on? It looks like, but I'm sure, my own personal goal is that it is all promotion, right? Like you put either IndyCar or Penske Entertainment says, hey, that $130 million that you guys spent, like that's part of the ownership, but we're gonna basically put you in charge of super injecting IndyCar marketing into every corner of the space of television, of YouTube, of wherever it is, just so people know that we exist. And again, maybe that takes more than hundreds of millions of dollars. I don't know. Otherwise, I would maybe have I don't know. I just don't know. But yeah, the whole goal now is to just see how they implement it, see the implementation strategy. But we'll talk more about like the years, what this looks like. But Chase, I wanted to get your thoughts. Obviously, you saw it, and I know that you've been a big proponent of what we're in the process of. We're in year one of this Fox relationship, and I think people have to continue to remember that we're in year one,
right?
And I think we've seen a great improvement from beginning to now. And a first-year director who's new to directing IndyCar, who's learning a lot. A great team of people behind the scenes. These are a lot of great people that I've known and worked with before. A lot of smart folks, great commentators. So yeah, I want to hear what your thought is, Jason, on how this changes our future landscape of sport.
Yeah, so I think going back to like last year when we found out Fox was coming in, like you and I talked a lot about like what this could mean, and we were hopeful always, but this right here is kind of like what I personally wanted to see happen, because we're seeing these kind of deals happen a lot. You talk about the Liberty Media deal, you talk about this, and now even ESPN has come out and I think they did a similar deal with the NFL. And that was today. So some of these bigger companies, they're seeing, like they're finding their lane and they're seeing what they love. Now, for Fox to go out and do this with IndyCar, I think that right there lets you know that they're all in. Even though they cover some NASCAR races, they do some different things like that. NASCAR is even looking for someone to come in like that for them now. And I think that you're going to start seeing more of these sporting organizations doing that. But the fact that we got to set the tone early for racing with Fox, with a company like Fox, like people forget Fox is not just, sports. They are a full-blown entertainment company. They make movies. They have production studios, television shows. There are so many cross-marketing opportunities that are now going to be extended out for what I think you were telling me 5 years, right? So this 5-year deal coming in, by the way, just to circle back, I did text Connor and I was like, hey, like, did you know about this? And he's like, no, I was mind blown that you had just found out about it too. So we were all in the same boat together, which was really cool. And
real quick, you said that 5 years. Yeah, the media rights are now tied up with Fox Sports through 2030. So we have a long-term TV partner, which is, I think, very, very exciting.
That is great. And so basically all the things that we have now, we know that we're going to still have that, the local TV coverage for everybody. That's going to be great for ratings, and it's only going to increase over time. But to speak to where you are, it's the product of racing. This has just been one of those things that are a long time coming. It's a lot of the things where the newer IndyCar fans that were coming in, like kind of around the time that I feel like can see, we kind of saw the writing on the wall here about the product itself, what we have on the track. Fox seeing that's huge. Eric Shanks being such a fan of the Indy racing and Indy 500, that helps as well. Because yes, it is about money at the end of the day, but when you have passionate people behind anything that are familiar with history, familiar with tradition, it just takes it up a whole nother level because you actually have care going into the product. It's not just this dry financial system. And I think that for me is the biggest alleviator of concern with the growth of IndyCar and where we are headed, because they're using words like innovation, they're using words like cross promotion, they're wanting to help find new events. The Mexico City thing's been talked about a lot, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. The Arlington Grand Prix, that's another big one that's coming out. So we can expect to see more of these tracks added, and I think Fox will work with the IndyCar teams to make sure that those things are coming to fruition. But I think the bigger thing here, and what we talk about a lot on this show, is the hype factor about where we are today in the landscape of media and how we're now going to be able to have a 5-year period with this media rights deal. We're going to have so much time to create crossovers with MLB, crossovers with NFL. That's going to get some more of these athletes to the tracks. They're going to get to see what's going on. I don't know if you saw some of the NASCAR videos they've been sharing this year where they had like LaMelo Ball in like a pit box and he's commentating on the race. Like those kind of things now can be integrated into IndyCar, and that's going to just help to reach the stick and ball sport fans, which is what I think this sport needs and any racing needs because of how big stick and ball is.
No, I mean, you're completely correct, Ed. The crossover. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of. I mean, Fox NFL Sunday. I mean, I mean, football is king, right? So Fox being, using anything like that is important. Obviously, we don't go head to head against the NFL, so we'll hopefully be using that a lot in the offseason just to retain relevancy, I think, which is important. I still don't disagree. I still disagree with how long our offseason is. I definitely don't. I wish that there wasn't that, because now that we do have such a tied-in deal with Fox, maybe there's a way to literally, use Fox NFL Sunday or Fox anything to be like, hey, we got an IndyCar race next weekend, so you guys better be watching right before they go to kickoff, and like our races at night Sunday, or like in between the NFL schedule, like a 5 p.m. slot or something like that, 6, like I don't know, something like that.
The night racing's got to be big, right? Yeah. We saw the success racing from Gateway. Saturday night racing as well. Like, that's going to be big. That's going to be a huge part of what they're going to experiment with. And that's the key word here, experimentation. And I feel like when you get so risk adverse for so long,
you already experimenting with the Gateway night race, right? Like, that's the perfect example of Fox understanding, and IndyCar as a series. Guess what? They listen to people. They're willing to make changes, and they made a change to a night race, which was awesome. Night racing looks awesome. It's great.
Right. And so to talk about the schedule as well, I think that is kind of I'm just getting a little too ahead of myself, but I feel like that's a given, because I feel like whatever is being loudly discussed and talked about from the majority of fans, the majority of people inside of the sport, is going to be heard, listened to, and experimented with. So as long as you and the rest of the drivers and some of the team members and the crews can make it work to make that schedule longer, I don't see why they wouldn't. And that right there is just going to create more opportunities throughout and create more overlap with other sports coming around, to where people are watching that football game, like you're saying, and now the football game's over, they're sticking to go watch the racing. You got some baseball fans out there that are sticking around, and they can watch that race. And baseball is a little bit different because of how big it is. But the main thing here is, everything that we can probably think of right now, the big things that all the IndyCar fans have been wanting and the drivers have been talking about, will most likely be experimented with. The question is, when? And when do we realistically think we're going to see some of these major changes that we all want implemented?
Yeah, I mean, we got to think that, and remember that Eric Shanks, the Fox Sports guy, main dude, he's an IndyCar fan. And I think this is what's so important about our deal here, is the fact that, first of all, a third of, I guess, Penske Entertainment is worth that much money. That's cool. Like, I think that's good.
Yeah.
I didn't know. Who knows how to put a value on that stuff. But Eric Shanks, I mean, I went and saw him at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway during one of the practice days, and he's locked in. He's trying to understand more about what's going on, but he knows the Indy 500. He knows the IndyCar series. And I think when you have someone like that who I think realizes what type of product we have to give to people and where we are now, he's like, dude, this is, I bet he feels like he won the lottery. I bet those guys think, hey, you know what? If we can do this correctly, and we create that internet hype that so many sporting leagues have achieved, and so many, different entities or different events have achieved. Like, all of a sudden, you see, some golf events are like getting like highest TV ratings ever. Golf, I love golf. I shot my best round last week. No big deal. Had a great time. But it's obviously the WNBA with Caitlin Clark has, their ratings have gone up like crazy. You're seeing football ratings that are still some of the highest rated games of all time. So people are wanting to tune in to sport. They're wanting to tune in to be entertained, to check out what the hype is all about, to check out what's, who is, why do we need to attend this? Well, because everyone's talking about it. Why do we need to watch this? Because everyone's talking about it. And so I'm excited to see, where they take it. I think this offseason, honestly, Chase, I think this offseason is going to be the most important offseason that we've had as a sport in almost as long as I can remember. Because I think the previous offseason, like obviously Fox is just getting into it. Now we have, not only do they own a portion of our sport, but they've got a year of experience under their belt. So this offseason for the future of our sport, I think is the most important, maybe ever. Would you agree?
Yeah. No, 100%, because the planning that's about to go down is probably going to be 10 times what we have seen in most off seasons. And that's not to say that IndyCar hasn't put a lot of work into what they do in the off seasons, but now you have this flood of people that are coming in that are going to basically be in the rooms with every aspect of it: social media, driver training, management, whatever you want to call it, helping. I would love to see you guys maybe work with some of these Fox executives, and they kind of like work a little bit with a way for you to all maybe make a little bit of cash, like the NASCAR entities are doing now, where basically drivers get incentivized for going on different podcasts, different shows, and that brings more awareness to the sport. I think that could be something implemented. And what really matters is that when you have a flood of people coming in, it's not so much that they're there to take over everything, but it's that they're there to show what's possible, right? And there's so many great men and women that work in IndyCar that you and I both know that have had so many ideas, and now just having the ability maybe to flex that is what we maybe haven't had a real chance to do, and just to see what is actually possible. I don't know how you feel about it, but I do know that, being IndyCar is a Midwest sport has been one thing that I felt needed to really grow upon. And that's not to take the heart of IndyCar out of the Midwest, but I think you and I both know that it needs to expand more nationally. We need to find a way to reach more of the East Coast. The West, it feels like California is pretty well taken care of, but there's a big gap between California and Wisconsin, or California and Indianapolis. How do we fill those gaps of fans? What does that, the Colorado Street race has been, hinted around, and that's been rumored a little bit. Is that going to be something that we're going to see done quickly? Because I think we know where these holes are at, and Fox is going to be able to fill those holes quickly, because you just have a lot of people with high cognitive abilities that are just saying, let's start throwing things at the wall and let's see what sticks. And some people don't really like that, but I think that right there is the way that you figure out how to really expand upon what you have and what your product is. And maybe there's just some people that are a little afraid to kind of step out of that box sometimes. So I think that this is going to help step out of that box with all of those people rushing in and having all of this ample time to do it. And I could go on for so long and list-wise of the different ideas and things I have, but I don't think we would have that much time. It would take hours to kind of break through them and break them down on a one-by-one basis. And maybe that's something we can do in the off season, talking about piece by piece how we think these things can build up, because I'm of the opinion that we're all in this together. We all can be team players, fans, drivers, industry folks alike. Our ideas all pouring into one area are what's going to make this flower bloom the way it needs to.
Yeah, I mean, I think... overall, there's, we've all got ideas and suggestions, and there's a couple Twitter accounts out there too that like everyone knows the answer, but
yeah, maybe not
if
every
someone
Twitter
actually
account
did know the answer. Not every Twitter account, but there are some. But if there was an easy answer, it would be done. Like, but the problem is this is not an easy thing to do. Like, it's hard to get the right people in place with the right motivation. the ability to actually pay the right people the right salary. I think that's an important thing too, is like to attract the right people, you got to be able to pay the right people too. And that's something important. Maybe that adds what we need to the sport with this Fox thing. But unfortunately for us drivers, the off season is long. Fortunately for our new 1/3 ownership, the off season is extremely long. And if they don't have a war room somewhere where they're like every day, hey, how is 2026 going to be the craziest year ever for IndyCar? We do have the Arlington race, which the tickets are on sale. Now, again, I think there are some, I didn't look at the ticket prices, but I saw some Twitter accounts and I saw some things maybe where it's like, hey, maybe these tickets are a bit expensive. I don't like that.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Maybe it's they're trying to follow the F1 model, but I'm not entirely sure. But anyway, we're still very early on in that case. I don't know enough about it. If the tickets are expensive, maybe it'll be worth it. Maybe and I remember Las Vegas, all the food is free there once you buy a ticket. Like there's some things thrown in. I don't know. I'm not entirely sure how it works.
What's
but
included?
Let's just say the tickets are on sale. Let's just adventure into it. Tickets are on sale for the Arlington race. I think that's going to be a great thing. I think when a businessman like Jerry Jones sees Fox kind of buy into our sport, and maybe there's some more integration there, maybe that's more of a serious entity, and that's very, very cool. So I'd like to think that's helpful. And again, maybe going to Mexico. Everyone keeps talking about that might be happening, and I would love to do that. I would love to be a part of that, and I think our sport would do fantastic down there. Especially with our Superstar Driver Pato Award. I think that would be huge. So I think 2026 and even 2027, you mentioned, obviously, that there's been talk of Denver. I certainly hope there's talk of Richmond. I hope there's more talk of different tracks. Maybe we got to get to the East Coast as well. So I think all of this is part of the process. And when we look at the sheer magnitude of what this does for our sport, this offseason is the most important. So I'm excited to see what they do with it. And I do hope they keep drivers involved. Obviously, I'd like to be a driver that is still involved in the series. That would be the goal. So shout out AMPM. We want to have AMPM back for more. We'd like to make that deal bigger, better than ever. But yeah, I just thought that was a really important just discussion point. And sadly, it came out maybe I don't know why Penske Entertainment and Fox didn't announce it on a Tuesday or a Monday to make sure that we could talk about it on the Speed Street podcast. But obviously, we talk about it now, and we will get it done. But Chase, I don't know if you've got anything else to add to that, but we do have a race coming up that I'd like to preview. What do you think? Do you have anything else on the Fox deal, or would you like to get to the Portland preview?
We'll definitely go into Portland, but I have one question for you. With this Fox deal coming into play, What is one thing that Connor Daly wants to do that this Fox deal could bring outside of racing itself?
That's a good idea, or that's a good question. Good idea, but to be honest, I don't know what my first choice would be. I think the streaming element obviously is super important. We've got to be able to get folks the ability to stream our races. Obviously, there's a lot of folks. I just sat down with lunch for this young couple at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. We were doing an appearance for the road safety board of Indianapolis, or something. Basically, a group of safe driving initiative folks at the Speedway, and they were like, "Yeah, we actually don't have cable. Like, we love IndyCar, but we don't have cable, so we don't actually get to see many of the races." And I was like, "Oh, that's wild." And they were like, "Yeah, we watched on Peacock." And I was like, "Yeah, no, I understand. There is a large now. It's not the majority of the people, but there is a large group of people like that. So I think that is really important to adhere to the folks that are not paying for cable and that do want to watch IndyCar races. I think that's super important. But other than that, I just want to see our sport take one minor step towards the mainstream. I want to see our sport. If I'm watching a random YouTube video about Pokemon cards being opened, or anything, like anything on television, or a sporting event or anything. And I'm like, last year with the Fox Super Bowl ad for us, IndyCar, I was like, there we go. Mainstream. That's sweet. But like, I just want to see more mainstream integration to where like you're just living life every day. And all of a sudden, you know, maybe we make an appearance on the Pardon My Take podcast. I don't know, something to where someone like just a major mainstream, like sporting integration. That's what I want to see. That's what I want to see.
Because the one thing I was going to say was I would love to see with this new Fox deal. I was watching a YouTube video. It was Scott Dixon and Yuki Tsunoda. Yuki was racing. He got to drive the IndyCar. There was a point of view. There was a camera that was kind of put up in the aero screen where you could kind of see his helmet. You could kind of watch him turn the wheel. I thought that was a great viewpoint that I haven't seen on the broadcast. I would love to see where you could, maybe there's an extra thing you could pay for, to where you could pay to be able to watch your driver while he's in the car on that streaming service, and also listen to that driver's radio throughout the race and have that like a little PIP box. I think that would be so sick. I love that angle and that view. We obviously have some great views on the broadcast now with the in-car helmet, but just having more elements of what you can see in the car and on the outside of the car, I think will bring a lot of eyes to it, because not everybody just maybe wants to watch the whole race. People want to have multiple boxes now. A lot of people are watching on computers. And to have the ability to have like two drivers pulled up where you're watching their in-car and you can toggle between their headsets, listen to what they're talking about while you're also watching the race, or maybe you have some kind of 3D graphic showing you the race as well. The possibilities are endless with the streaming. So I love that.
And more onboard cameras.
Brought that one up.
I mean, yeah. One thing that you said, more onboard cameras. Like,
yeah,
for goodness sake, like, get us more onboard cameras, not just the same angles. Dudes that pay the most money. Like this, it's insane that we have that. Like I mean, yeah, we get it. All the McLaren cars that have the most money, they're going to get all onboard cameras. Like, cool. But what if all of a sudden, like when I pass 15 people in 2 laps, like maybe that onboard view would have been cool at Milwaukee last year.
There you go.
I don't know. Maybe Kiffin Simpson on a restart is doing something, or at the start he had an accident at Laguna Seca. You can get that view. You can get a whole new view. Like, it doesn't matter who it is. It could be someone starting 24. Could be, hey, guess what? Callum Ilot's had some sweet races. That team's not going to afford any onboard cameras right now. They don't even have a charter. But let's get him a camera. Maybe he's got some cool stuff going on. That for me is one of the big things that I believe we need to get to. So that I've got passion for.
I'm glad we're lined up. Love that.
That I definitely have passion for. All right, well, let's get to our Portland preview. We've got a race coming up this weekend, of course. The IndyCar Grand Prix of Portland, our final road course of the season. Let me get you the exact timing of this event, just so you can know that you're going to watch it on Fox, obviously. Practice 1 is going to be on FS2, of course, 5:30 p.m. Eastern. Practice 2 on FS1. Again, if you have cable and you got a nice TV package, you can watch that. We love the fact that there are, I see some of the ratings from the practice sessions, and there are still a couple 100,000 people every now and then, 100,000 people watching practice. That's great. That's huge. Qualifying is at 2:30 p.m. Eastern on Saturday on FS1, and then the final practice, which is actually, this is the first I've seen this, is actually 8:30 p.m. Eastern on FS2. It's on Saturday. So similar to Laguna Seca, at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca, we are now having our warm-up on Saturday. So Saturday is going to be a long and busy day for us. And then the race is obviously at 3 p.m. Eastern on Network Fox. Please don't miss it. You can also listen on SiriusXM, of course, and IndyCar Live, all that stuff. So interesting. I just learned about the schedule, and you heard it live on the podcast. So shout out Portland.
Live on air.
Very, very excited for that one. But let's talk quickly. Will Power won this race last year, which is, I feel like we haven't talked about a Will Power win in a while, right? So Will Power, he won last year, beat out Alex Palou and Joseph Newgarden. If you look at the race results, you see last year there was a lot of different faces. You had Toby Sowery, you had Yuri Vips in this race, and there was actually 28 cars at Portland. So I had heard a rumor last week that there might be 28 again this weekend in Portland, but it's now Wednesday and I haven't seen any announcement for that. So I believe there's still only going to be 27 cars. But we got to remember that last year there were 28. So a little bit of a different pit lane, a little bit shorter now that there's one less car. But I think this race, looking at the weather, is going to be a tough one because it gets hotter. There's a hot streak, not hot streak. There's a hot front, a heat streak of weather moving in. I'm completely forgetting all my weather terms that I know. But there's a warm front, as they say, a warm front moving in. So it's going to be very, very hot on race day. Could be tough on the tires. I'm hoping it's a red tire race once again, but we'll see. But, the weather looks good other than the heat. And I think you're going to have, as we mentioned in the last show, driving standards are, I think this race could be nuts because we've now thought, maybe no one's going to go crazy. Maybe it is going to be fairly tame. In the last few races, we've seen a bunch of people hit a ton of people, and you've got people at the absolute ragged edge. You've got drivers that are all over the place in points. You've got drivers that are desperate to just make one last impact. You know what's crazy is also the silly season. There's been so little silly season talk that it's bound to happen at some point. So maybe there's a tipping point. Maybe Portland, the last road course, is a tipping point for some teams or for some drivers where something different's going to happen, depending on this race. So, I'm excited for it personally because we got to do it last year together as a team. This is the only road course last year that we got to do together, and I already feel way more comfortable. Now, again, a lot of teams around us have improved, and we need to really be able to step it up. Hopefully, we can. But yeah, hopefully the week off for our group helped us a little bit, get recentered, refocused, resorted, and everyone's good. But yeah, Chase, what are you looking forward to about Portland this weekend?
Seeing if McLaren and Pato can challenge up on Alex Palou. I think that is going to be one of the big stories. Pato he didn't have the best finish here last year, and I don't know if that was just McLaren trying to get used to the new hybrid system or what, but I know in 2023, I think he had a decent finish. I think he maybe was, I know he had a top 10 for sure. But to see if McLaren can show up, if Pato can show up to challenge Alex, I think is going to be a big storyline. I don't really know about the
Penske last year. That's crazy.
Yeah. So him having that finish, and I'm not 100% sure of what that was. I'd have to go back and rewatch the race, but I did notice that last night when I was looking over everything, that they're going to have to really show up because Lundgaard, he did the damn thing in Laguna Seca, and I know that he's kind of been on a tear as well. So if he can find a way to maximize his run, I think Pato can too. They're going to have to do really well in qualifying and nail that. I think that's a big story everyone's watching. Aside from that, the Penske situation. Joseph's been okay over the last 2 years at this race. He had, he finished the race in Laguna Seca, which is good. It's good to see Joseph and some of the Penske guys finish the race. Yeah. So,
that's a big benefit.
I'm really excited to see what Joseph and Scott and Will can bring to the table this weekend. Maybe some things are turning around a little bit towards the end of the season now. You got some of the edges sanded down. That's going to be a big one for me because I would love to see Joseph be able to, get back up there in the fight. And I know that's probably been weighing heavy on him. So that's
the
one
elusive
that
Penske victory. The elusive Penske victory. Is it going to happen? I mean, goodness gracious, Penske hasn't won a race yet this year.
Yeah.
What if I win a race before Penske? What if we get to Milwaukee and we're like, hey, could happen.
I mean, you do got that dog in you. So, I mean, I don't know.
I'm thinking real confidently. We're only seeing a win at the end of this year. I'm feeling it. We're feeling good. We're feeling stronger as a squad. Yeah. Maybe it happens in Portland. That would be jokes on everyone.
Yeah, I mean, you got some data. You know what you're looking at. You were with this team last year, so that's something to look out for. But yeah, I personally I think that everyone's expecting an Alex Palou victory again. But the Pato story and the Penske story are going to be the two big ones to watch going into Portland this weekend. So I think that that's what a lot of people are going to be focused on. I know I will, at least. And yeah, just to see who can make the big swings. Another one, will Felix Rosenqvist have a bounce back? He had a pretty solid finish here in 2023 before the hybrid was introduced. And I know that he's coming off of a week where he really didn't get to race. So I would love to see Fro be able to get something done. I mean, they've got that alliance with Chip Ganassi Racing. So will Fro bounce back? That's another big storyline. So we got some storylines for Portland, man. And also, it's Portland. You got to keep it weird, you know?
Absolutely, keep it weird. Turn one is always a disaster. So we'll see if drivers can make it through turn one. Maybe this is another turn one where you're just like, oh my gosh, 6 cars have been hit. Who knows? We hope not. Let's get into some picks for Portland. We obviously saw last year, we saw a new pole sitter last year. Santino Ferrucci was on the pole. So that was wild. I mean, there's a lot of craziness that happens in Portland. So we'll see obviously if that can be repeated. But for me, it's so, I'm going to give you my first pick, and it's so hard to not pick a Penske because it just feels like it's going to happen. And if there's going to be anyone to do it, I think it's going to be Scott McLaughlin. I think the third C3s are due. I really do believe that. I think Scott has had some stuff that, really has just happened to him that's been pure bad luck. So I believe that Scott McLaughlin has to be my first pick. I just feels right. Like at some point, I sound like a gambler. I was like, at some point that number's going to hit. You know what I mean? Like at some point it's going to happen.
That's all. That's been some of the guys I've been talking with. Like every week they're riding Penske. It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. I was like, I had to get off of that train for a while, but I don't think that's a bad pick at all. We've seen him make up some incredible position at this track. Where he started, I think last year and where he finished was huge. So we know he can make passes.
Started 20th last year, finished 7th. Yeah.
I'm gonna counter that. I'm gonna go with Joseph. I'm gonna say Joseph Newgarden gets his second podium of 2025 this weekend. I think that him finishing the race is a good start, and I think that they have enough data. They know enough to where they can get out there, and he's maybe kind of turning a leaf and getting in that right headspace. So I'll say Joseph Newgarden on a podium this week. I'll be there with you at some point. This is the at some point it turns around pick of Speed Street.
At some point. I know, man. Trust me. All right. Well, I think I'm going to go with Marcus Armstrong for this next pick. I think Marcus Armstrong has been sneaky good pretty much everywhere. He's been right up in the front. He's had a few things go wrong with Toronto. He was on the wrong strategy. But I think Marcus has been very good. They're using that Ganassi relationship very well. And I think that he puts in a podium run. I'm going to say Marcus Armstrong with a podium in Portland.
Okay. I'll move over to the man that makes miracles happen almost on a weekly basis. I'm going with Scott Dixon. Strategy will play out somehow. He will find a way to a podium. I think that we've seen him do it before, as long as he doesn't get shunted on lap 1. Like in years past, like last year, I think we'll be okay. So Scott Dixon, I think he finds a way to a podium this weekend.
Love it. All right. Well, my last pick, I kind of want to get one of these where I nail all 3 picks. So because of that, I have to pick Alex Palou. I'm just doing it. I'm picking Alex Palou. I'm going to do the boring thing. I want to get one of these where I get all 3. I think it could be right. And I don't know why I'm not picking Pato, but the only reason that I just don't see, it was a tough race for those guys last year. Now, Pato did say that Toronto was his worst race, and look what happened there. So I maybe this year is a resurgence year at everywhere where Pato was struggling last year. Could be. But, if I wasn't going to pick Palou, I would pick Pato, but I'm going to go with Palou because the guy's undefeatable. He's so good. He's on his game. He is just basically he's looking at all of us in the face and essentially punching us directly in the nose every weekend. So I respect that.
And he's got merch now. He put
He's
a post out
merch,
earlier
new
today.
Merch, Alex Below merch. Yeah.
It's about time. So I will say, to your point about Pato, he did say Toronto was his worst race. I want to believe, and I'm going to go crazy with it. So I want to believe that he can make something happen. I'm going to put Pato on podium instead of doing the Pelot pick. I'm going to go with Pato, and that'll round out mine. I feel pretty good. I feel like I got a pretty good stack. I feel like I got a good stack this weekend. So I'll say Pato finds a way. He gets a little bit of grit in him, a little determination, a little extra fire now that we're getting down to the wire. I think that you and I both know that he can make an oval podium happen pretty easy. But I'm going to throw the dart Pato Award in Portland. They both start with P.
There you go. I respect that. All right. Well, we appreciate you folks for listening. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode and learned something from it. We're excited about everything that's going on. IndyCar and the Fox deal is huge. So we appreciate that. But let's get to a fantastic segment called the Ricky Treadway Random Indy 500 Driver of the Week.
The greatest event of its kind that's ever been run on.
Let's meet the drivers. Who will make up the field?
All right, folks, for this week, we went way deep into the archives. We went back into a time that is almost even unrecognizable by humans now. We got Twitters and Instagrams and all kinds of stuff going on. You can interact with everyone, whereas like back in this time, I mean, I feel like the telephone was barely invented yet, and we're sending letters, maybe even pigeons. And maybe not. 1916. We went to the 1916 Indy 500. The 1916 Indy 500 cars were invented. I don't know if you guys were aware of that. So therefore, probably the telephone was also invented. So don't worry. But Dario Resta won this race. But I found a driver that might look familiar to some of us, only because he spells his name like a very recent Indy 500 champion. The fourth place finisher of this race was Joseph Christians, and Joseph is spelled Josef. And some people obviously spell Joseph a different way, but Joseph Newgarden spells it like this. So Joseph Christians, the fourth place finisher, is our Ricky Treadway Random Indy 500 Driver of the Week. He was born in 1882 and only lived to 1919. So not a super long life. A Belgian race car driver, an aviator, and an engineer. Sometimes we don't really have a ton on Wikipedia about drivers from this era, but this one we kind of do. A lot of words and races that none of us will understand or know about. But on September 9th, 1916, Christians and his 2,300-pound English Sunbeam race car entered in the Harvest Auto Racing Classic held at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, composing of 3 races held at 20, 50, and 100-mile distances. Johnny Aiken in a Peugeot came in first in all 3 distances. Christian's Sunbeam failed to start the race due to a broken crankshaft. Darn it. What a guy. Kind of looks like a gangster. I'm not going to lie. I don't know if you see his picture, Chase. He kind of looks like a gangster.
Dog, how can I not see his picture? Do you see that mustache on this man?
Great mustache.
This dude was he was definitely the IndyCar mustache champion of 1916. That's for sure.
Maybe.
This guy right here.
Maybe.
He definitely, I think every man though in that time, one thing I wanted to ask you about, you heard the theory about how like every man in like the 1900s, early 1900s, they all wore those hats. Like I don't get what's up with the flattened cook hat, the flattened chef hat. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. This is, I mean,
my dad wore it every now and then too.
Yeah. All right.
Only 2 Indy 500 2 Indy 500s for Joseph. As many wins as Joseph Newgarden has. That's not what I meant. He's done 2 races. Joseph Newgarden has 2 Indy 500 wins. So Joseph Christians raced in 1914. He started 9th and finished 6th. And then in 1916, started 16th and finished 4th. So 2 top 10s. Joseph Christians has never finished outside the top 10 of the Indy 500. So shout out Joseph. Life got cut short, sadly. But what a different time it was in the world. So yeah, that's our random Indy 500 driver of the week. If you stayed this long into the show, we appreciate that. The gloves have been shipped and sent, by the way, to our winner a couple weeks ago. Some people have asked me about that. The gloves we did have a claimer of the gloves. I shipped them myself last week. So the owner of the gloves, we appreciate those folks. We'll do another giveaway when we get to 20,000 subscribers on YouTube. So why not do that? 20,000 seems like another crazy number to hit. Who knows if we'll ever get there, but we appreciate those folks. Bobby right now, producer Bobby's working on a blog. We had a blog from Laguna Seca. Hopefully we can get that up before this next race weekend comes out and happens. But we appreciate you folks listening, no matter where it is, whether it's Apple, Spotify, pods, wherever you're listening to in pod. Maybe you're in a pod, I don't know, and you're listening to one. I'm not sure. But we appreciate you folks and join the conversation with us. We do like to, interact, obviously, maybe sometimes too much, but we do like that. And we hope you guys enjoy this program and hopefully enjoy Portland, because after that, we're finishing the year with 2 absolutely fantastic oval races, which we all love. So we'll see you next week, hopefully with a new winner on the Speed Street podcast. Hey everyone, Connor Daly here. Please leave a like on this video if you did enjoy it, and also subscribe to the channel as well. That would be very helpful. Be a friend, tell a friend. Thank you so much for the support, and we'll see you on the next episode of Speed Street.